The Warriors have lost 8 of 11, ranking in the bottom third of the league in both offensive and defensive efficiency, as you can see there on your screen during this stretch. So, Woj, a lot's been made about this up-and-down season of Klay Thompson, and it's not atypical. We've seen this from him to start a year before. But without an extension, where do the Warriors stand on Klay this season?
Well, I think the contract extension talks between the Warriors, Klay Thompson, they've really been dormant since training camp. And I think both sides expect that they're going to go through the rest of the season without having any real serious negotiations, that they will look at this in the offseason. Obviously, Klay Thompson can be a free agent. And you've seen the history with Joe Lacob in Golden State. You know, they got into free agency with Draymond Green before they re-signed him. They didn't get a deal done with Bob Myers as their president. They've not got an extension done with Steve Kerr yet. These things have played out. I think that's what they expect for Klay Thompson. Again, you know, he can go into free agency, but the kind of extension they were talking about didn't make sense really for either side.
Okay.
And I think you'll see them revisit this in the offseason.
Well, I feel like the Warriors got to be careful with playing things out, right? You play with fire, you get burnt. Growing up, my grandma would say, all right, you touch that stove, you touch it, then all of a sudden you get burnt. That's what you're looking at, because I'm just thinking about the market, right? And I'm thinking about what Klay Thompson is in his career. This is probably his last big payday. So he shouldn't take less. Look, you done won 4 NBA championships. You done did everything and more. At the end of the day, I know everybody, we look at it as, from the outside looking in, as, the media and fans of the game, and we see entertainment. It still is a job to them. And if I'm Klay Thompson, I'm going with the team that's going to pay me the most money. If the Golden State can't do that, it was a nice run, then I got to take my talent elsewhere.
And, Perk, you've dealt with injuries. I've dealt with 2 major injuries. And one thing we've learned in this process, while everyone wants instant offense, instant success, particularly when it comes to the season, when you have that pedigree and history of the Warriors, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think we're going to judge Klay more on what he does towards the end of the year, which is what sort of benefits him in this situation when it comes to his contract. Because look at the first 18 games the last 2 seasons. 17 points per game in 2022. This is much lower, obviously, compared to what we know him capable of doing, but 40% regardless from 3. So I'm judging Klay more so once he hits his stride come mid-season. That's when you really get your legs back, particularly as an athlete that has dealt with some challenges throughout the course of the year.
It's not a question of whether they want Klay Thompson back. It's a negotiation, and it's a look at financially with a new salary cap. How can you pay everybody? And listen, there might be a team out there that could offer Klay Thompson more money. He's made a lot of money in his career, and he has an investment in Golden State. He's going to have a statue built of him outside that arena. It's unique. And the idea that he's just easily going to walk away from Steph Curry, Draymond Green, that organization, that's not going to happen. But you do risk it. And you're right, Perk. You risk him leaving in free agency. I think he's looking for, in his mind, a fair market deal. And that conversation, I don't think is going to really happen between these two until the year is over, because they're projecting out over a number of years what he has left, at what level he can play. And that's where you're at right now.
Well, and the Warriors know that, because when you hear Steph Curry talk after he had a big game Klay did yesterday, he was able to really get his lick back, as you would say, in the fourth quarter. Steph's like, I'm smiling watching Klay play like that. And they really still have this belief that they can get back to the Golden State Warriors that we've all grown accustomed to. Because when you look, Klay's Warriors, they have the 3rd shortest odds to win the West. That's well behind 2 teams we will see in the second game of our doubleheader, though, the Nuggets and the Suns. Denver plus 225 as the favorites to return to the finals. Phoenix not far behind at plus 320. But when you look at the paths to get to this conversation that we're having about the Nuggets and the Suns, Woj, they've taken very different stances in how they've built these 2 teams. How do you weigh all of that?
You look at the Nuggets and their chance to not just win that title last year, win another one, but moving forward for a number of years to be a championship contender. They've built that not just with their star core of obviously the MVP, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., but what they have that almost no other contenders do is a pipeline of young players. They have hit on their draft picks. You think of Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, who's coming along now, Jalen Pickett. So when they lose a Bruce Brown in free agency, when they can't afford to keep a Jeff Green, you can't go out in free agency and replace those kinds of players at those salaries. But they've got young players on contracts that they control. They have more picks. And you look at Phoenix, a team that has to be able to acquire Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, they have gassed all of their assets, their draft picks, pick swaps, and they don't have the ability to draft young players, to bring young players in, and they're going to be playing the minimum free agent contract game for the next few years. They have a much shorter window. You look at the Clippers and you see that a little bit. Denver has the ability to outlast all of these teams for years to come.
Well, and the question is, okay, well, we love to do this on TV. What's better? What works? But when you look at what works, it's Denver's approach historically. Rarely do we see the instant oatmeal teams, right, be the ones that win, particularly in their first year. Even the Heatles, right? It took until the second year with LeBron James. When you look at the Warriors, they won pre-Kevin Durant. They won post-Kevin Durant. I guess adding Anthony Davis, they won in their first year, but it's just really rare that you see that kind of talent get put together and they win. It's more like the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I mean, we done it in 2008 with the Celtics, you know what I mean? First year, we got it. We got it done, but you know what? I'm kind of torn in between the two, right? Because you didn't see it work both ways, right? And the Warriors did it both ways. They actually built and they bought. I mean,
but it's a different NBA.
But what I'm saying is go and get Kevin Durant, during that time, they actually, kind of bought in a little bit too as well. So, but when I think about where the Denver Nuggets go, it goes back to the front office. And like Woj was saying, it's the eye, right? It's the eye for talent. It's the eye for making sure you put the right pieces around your superstars and having the right coach to run the right system. All that perfect marriage stuff has to work. And then when you look at a young team on the rise like the Oklahoma City Thunder, Sam Presti, eye for talent, right coach. You know what I mean? But he's drafting right, though. All those guys complement each other. And, like, I'm looking at the Oklahoma City team, and I know it's off subject, but in the next 2 years, I could see them being the favorite to winning the championship with their core group that they have.
I'm on fire. The city, yeah, I'm here.